for the plaintiffs who, last week, filed a lawsuit against the city of Atlanta. Our 4 plaintiffs each live near the site of the Cop City Training Center. They live in DeKalb County. They want their voices heard, and they have the First Amendment right to collect signatures on a petition to force the city of Atlanta to allow its voters decide the fate of Cop City. But city law prevents them from collecting signatures. The law must be changed, and this lawsuit aims to do just that. We are asking the court to strike down the city code section that blocks our clients from collecting signatures, short and simple. We want the deadline reset for the collection of the signatures needed for the Cop City petition to be placed as a referendum to the voters of the city of Atlanta. The goal of this lawsuit, in brief, for our clients, is to let all DeKalb County residents participate in the political process of democratic lawmaking. In the words of former Congressman John Lewis, the vote is precious. It is the most powerful, nonviolent tool we have in a democratic society, and we must use it. Our clients are taking those words to heart. The city should open its doors to the democratic process, not close them. The court has ordered a fast track for this lawsuit, and we hope for early resolution. Thank you.
So just a brief word about how the city might react to this lawsuit. You know, we've seen, and we've talked about it before, many of us at least, the city's had an authoritarian response to any act of protest against the construction of this training center. We've seen people charged with domestic terrorism. Some of those charged, there's no dispute, have been peaceful. That trend is frightening, and we've talked about it. Mayor Andre Dickens says that this construction project has popular support. So, I think that should be put to the test. The question is, how will the city respond to this? The city can consent to the entry of an order that allows non-resident petition circulators. The city can show that it supports the will of the voters rather than the interests of its politicians. If the city opposes this lawsuit and opposes this request, the question needs to be why. Why would they try to keep people out of this process who live in the area most affected by this process? Why could they not help collect signatures? That's all we're asking, is collecting signatures. The First Amendment says Congress shall make no law abridging the right of the people to petition the government for a redress of grievances. We talk about the text of the Constitution a lot. There it is. Is this all about concerns about domestic terrorism, or is this about stifling any dissent and pushing this project through at any cost? This case will be a litmus test to see how the city responds and whether it embraces the political process or opposes it. Jacqueline Doherty and Kiana Jones will now say a few words about how this construction project has affected them, why they want to participate in the referendum process, and then we'll take some questions briefly at the end.
Sure. Jacqueline, Jacqueline Dou, Doherty, Dougherty. Good morning, my name is Jacqueline Doherty, and I'm one of the plaintiffs in this case. I'm a resident of unincorporated DeKalb County, an early childhood educator, and a naturalist. I'm filing this lawsuit so I can participate in the collection of signatures as a volunteer canvasser for Cop City vote referendum to appear on this year's ballot. I believe it is our duty to show up in the city of Atlanta for our community, especially those residents in DeKalb County who've experienced the worst of our failing water infrastructure and live where both DeKalb County and city of Atlanta have for years put toxic industry, landfills, prisons, and a police shooting range in their backyards. I personally have found canisters and casings in and on the DeKalb side of Entrenchment Creek Riverbed from the current Atlanta police shooting range. I believe that DeKalb County residents have been unacceptably restricted from participating in a process that most affects them. This is a voting rights and fair representation issue, and the people of unincorporated DeKalb County have the lived experience to speak with their Atlanta neighbors about how this vote impacts their lives. I live within 2 miles of the proposed police training facility and have frequented both the DeKalb County Park at Entrenchment Creek and hiked the trails near the old prison farm for 8 years. I am devastated about the murder of Tortuguita and the clear-cutting of our beloved forest that protects our watershed. My friends and neighbors who live and play in Gresham Park are also now facing the closure of our park and bike path due to backdoor agreements between DeKalb County politicians and a private production corporation. Atlanta City residents had a similar shock when the land owned by the city was leased to the Atlanta Police Foundation. We are asking for the residency requirement to be repealed so we can have the kinds of nuanced, detailed, complicated, and necessary conversations that were denied us since the beginning of these land swaps between our respective governments, private corporate interests, and the Atlanta Police Foundation. We are demanding to have these conversations in public space because we are not afraid of conflict, are genuinely committed to educating each other, sharing resources, and we have nothing to hide. We want to model what a democratic process can look like when neighbors come together across county and city lines to listen to one another and create changes that make this city a livable and life-affirming place.
Good morning. My name is Kiana Jones, Keyanajones. My co-plaintiffs and I have filed this lawsuit because, plain and simple, we need a voice. We deserve a voice. We were never asked about this project from the time that it was conceived to the time that it was introduced to the time that the Atlanta City Council turned its back on the will of the people. The residents of unincorporated DeKalb who live within the city of Atlanta don't have a voice. And the rest of unincorporated DeKalb, which has enjoyed Weelaunee People's Park and the surrounding area, we don't have a voice. Until about 2 months ago, I lived right behind Weelaunee People's Park. It's also the same neighborhood where I was born and raised in 1979. It's also the same neighborhood where my 90-year-old granny still lives, and I am her voice. Because the people of Atlanta also deserve a voice, but those of us who are most affected directly by this project have never been given a voice. We have never been able to say that we don't want a firing range near our children's school. We've never been able to say that we don't want more lead from gunshots from the bullet casings polluting our water. We've never been able to say that we don't want a burn tower where you're already destroying 381 acres of trees to make it so that we can't breathe. We've never been able to say this and be heard. This referendum petition is our one shot. It's the one chance that we have to say we matter. We're here. Hear our voices. What we are asking is for the code to be repealed in the city of Atlanta that states that non-residents are not allowed to collect petition signatures. It is simply collecting a signature. If this project is really wanted by the people, then why can't we show that with a referendum on a ballot? Why can't we simply let the people decide?
All right, if you all have any questions, we're happy to take them briefly.
You guys mentioned fast tracking the court.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that? What does that mean, and what do you expect to happen?
So we filed a motion for a preliminary injunction, and the judge issued an order. And then a preliminary injunction is just something that is heard quickly, that allows the judge to assess the merit of the case and decide, whether to stop the city from enforcing this ordinance. The judge has given the defendants 1 week to respond to it, and then we have 1 week to file a reply. And then at that point, we don't know what will happen next. The judge will likely either decide the case or decide to have a hearing. We don't have a timeline after that, but it is a fast briefing schedule.
How is it that this has been a City of Atlanta project the entire time and city and unincorporated DeKalb County? I think some of us never quite understood that.
Yeah, I mean, the city owns the land. I think that there's been some concern raised about, the city operating outside of its borders and what authority it has to do so. But that's not really what we're getting. That's not part of this lawsuit. I'm not necessarily an expert on on the local government matters to.
That is an answer. I wasn't.
Yeah, it's in unincorporated DeKalb County, the actual project. Right.
What sort of precedent have you all seen in relation to this type of case in terms of getting the code repealed in terms of other lawsuits?
Sure, there's a number of favorable decisions from other circuit courts that are all cited in our brief. I don't want to, because it's all pending before the court, I don't want to play up the merits of the litigation. But everything is in our brief, and there are cases as of this. This is a well-supported.
It mentions in the lawsuit that the state, you all are, it's not only the city of Atlanta, it's the state. So how specifically does the state come into play here in this lawsuit?
So there's a state statute that governs recall elections, the Atlanta Ordinance model, and for municipalities, the Atlanta Ordinance models that statute. And so the state is a party because if you're seeking to have a statute declared unconstitutional, the state needs notice to be heard. For the purposes of the preliminary injunction, all we're asking is that the city of Atlanta be stopped from enforcing it. We're not trying to, go beyond the scope of this particular referendum at this time.
So of course, it's the 60 days that the referendum people have been mentioning.
Yes.
We have within the 60 days.
Yes.
And in the lawsuit, you guys are asking to extend those 60 days. Can you
Yes.
tell a little bit that timeline of
Well,
what would happen if the judge does let you guys, release you guys want?
well, then there would be what we're requesting is that all the signatures collected be counted, and that the timeline to participate be extended so that the plaintiffs and others like them can fully participate in the political process because they haven't been able to do so to date.
Theoretically, if this was false, construction, and this the referendum in November, or?
Our lawsuit is not asking to halt any construction. If the petition drive is successful, I think it would behoove the city or whoever is building it to halt. But I don't know that there would be a legal way to force them to halt it, even if the referendum is successful. The petition for the referendum is successful. But I don't know why they would want to keep building if it's going to be put to a vote.
But to clarify, the lawsuit is to allow the residents of unincorporated DeKalb to collect signatures or to be able to sign the petition?
No, just to collect signatures. And collecting requires signing a certification because you're a witness to the signature. And if there are questions about those signatures, then the canvasser, the person who collected them, will be called upon to answer for them. So this is just to serve as petition circulators. It's not to allow non-city residents to sign the petition.
And this is for people who still live in the city of Atlanta, which is in unincorporated DeKalb, or for all people who are not residents of the city of Atlanta?
The relief we're seeking is all people who are not residents of the city of Atlanta. All state residents be allowed to participate, whether they're from unincorporated DeKalb, like our plaintiffs, or from elsewhere.
This is more a question for Bruce. This is more a question for the plaintiffs. You heard the comments from Mayor Dickens last week about him, if you guys are honest, quote unquote, if you guys are honest and truthful, that the referendum won't be successful. What's your reaction to that? Considering you guys want to start collecting signatures on this.
Well, Mayor Dickens' statement was that if it's done properly, then the referendum petition would fail. And all that shows us is that Mayor Dickens is intent on using everything within his power to not only suppress votes, but to also make sure that he steps up in a Donald Trump-like fashion to say, oh, if it goes through, then this is voter fraud. What we see from Mayor Dickens is not anything that we haven't seen before. And what Mayor Dickens continues to show is that he's willing to push this project through at all costs, whether he's right or wrong.
All right, anything else?
Once again, your whole name, please spell it out.
Fine.
Yes, sir.
Oh, it's Jeff, Jeff, Filipovitz, Filipovits. Good. All right, thank you all for coming.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, can we get a hard copy of that lawsuit?
We have
Hard copies are here. The where?
It was said that it would be handed out.
Yeah, they're printed. We can email it to you. Does that work? All right.
Give your card. Let's get your card.